Welcome to Gateway House. Today we have with us Mr. Ussal Sahbaz. He is the director of G20 Studies Center at the Economic Policy Research Foundation of Turkey, which is also known as TEPAV. Ussal, welcome to Gateway House and welcome to Bombay.
Thank you very much.
To begin with, I wanted to understand from you what are we expecting from this T20 regional consultation meeting in Mumbai tomorrow?
Well, first of all, thank you to Gateway House for taking the lead in organizing this. It is the first regional consultation that T20 is ever doing. So we had, let me put it this way. T20 is an informal network of scholars. They started in Mexican presidency in 2012. In Russia and in Australia they continued, but it has been always a small group. Especially in Australia, they had a few workshops, but it was a certain network of people who are interested in this and who have been leading this since the beginning. So it's a very valuable network. But as the Turkish presidency, what we did was to enlarge this circle. So we wanted to make it more inclusive, and we didn't limit it to the events in Turkey only. We had a few events in Canada, in Germany, in Beijing. We have thematic events. So all of these events have certain themes. This one is different. It's a regional consultation. The theme is South Asia, but we'll discuss everything that relates to G20. So it's the first time that T20 is doing this ever, and the idea is actually to get the views from this region and integrate those ideas into the T20 recommendations.
So how important this first time ever this meeting becomes for the entire G20 presidency this year?
It is important because it is also it all coincides with Turkish presidency's priority of inclusiveness. What Turkey did was we wanted to get the views of non-G20 countries into this process. We wanted to make the voice of the certain countries in the G20 heard more, because everything becomes very Western-centric. So it also coincides with this priority, therefore it is very important for the G20 presidency, the official track.
If I may ask you, what has been the learnings from the G20 presidency this year so far?
Of course, Turkey had a politically difficult year. We had elections, we are having one more just 2 weeks before the summit. So from a political point of view, it was a busy year. Of course, G20 hasn't been the priority in the internal politics. That never is the case. But regardless, I think our bureaucracy has been very successful in running the presidency. And the main learning was that the world is no longer Eurocentric or the North America centric. That is the whole idea of why G20 has started. It has transformed from G7 to G20. But now this idea is becoming much more prominent. And actually this very much coincides with the regional consultation that we are doing here. Why? India is one of the BRICS countries. BRICS countries are all different from each other, right? China is very large, India is growing very fast, Russia, Brazil, they are not performing that well at the moment, but all of these countries are important. Turkey is not a BRICS country, it's smaller. It's not globally that much important, but it still plays a key role. And there are these type of countries as well, what we call the MICTA countries. Mexico, Turkey, Indonesia, Korea, and Australia. These countries are of mid-size, but they can play a key role in the international affairs if they have the good alliances and if they have the good connections and if they establish the good platforms. So you can think the G20 presidency of Turkey as a big platform that Turkey has put some of its ideas forward in the international community, and some of them have worked. Like this LIDC, the low-income developing countries priority. It has worked. We were able to integrate this agenda into the G20. Like the SME, small and medium-sized enterprises priority. We established this World SME Forum within the G20, and it will stay as a legacy institution. So India has similar priorities. Now what we are trying to do in this consultation is to hear these priorities and integrate them into the G20 agenda so that in the upcoming presidencies those ideas will also be discussed and actions will be taken.
And so there have been a lot of sub-forums. There is T20, there is W20, L20. So what has been the relevance of all those forums?
Yes. So it all started with B20 in Korea, 2010. And the idea, of course, G20 is very new. It started in 2008 at leaders level. Before then, it was very finance-centric, small group of finance ministers and central bank governors. The idea is to open the process to the larger society. It will not stay among the officials who are, making deals behind the closed doors, but they should also interact with the main parts of the, civil society, business, labor 20, civil society 20, Russian started. It brings together the civil society institutions. Think Tank 20, as I said, it was started by Mexicans, but it is different from the others. Now, business 20, labor 20, civil society 20, these are all interest groups. So they come up with their recommendations and they advocate for them. Whereas Think Tank 20 is an academic network, and what we bring is not actually recommendations, but policy options. So on certain issues, we say these are the options, 1, 2, 3 options. You guys can choose. These are the benefits, pros, these are the cons of this option, and also for the other option. So it's more of an academic exercise rather than an advocacy exercise.
Right. You talked about the 3 I's that Turkey introduced this year: inclusiveness, implementation, and investment. What is going to be the key recommendation from Turkey to G20 this year?
So these 3 I's: implementation, inclusiveness, and investment. This was the theme of 2015, and actually 2 very concrete things have emerged. One is an accountability framework, which very much fits into the implementation theme. As you know, last year the G20 countries submitted their growth strategies to the Brisbane summit. So every country announced the reforms that they will undertake in the upcoming years to enhance the global growth and to add 2% additional growth by 2018. So this is the target. But who will monitor this? There was no mechanism to track the implementation of the reform. So what Turkey is doing now is developing a framework, which is already done and accepted by the finance ministers, and it will be announced in Antalya, to develop a framework to which every country will submit their reforms and each country will check each other. What we want to do as T20 and other engagement groups is to ensure more engagement group inputs to this process. Now it is very much, under the closed official doors. The other success is the investment plans. So these are the plans that G20 asks to each country: what will you invest in the upcoming 5 years? Infrastructure, SMEs, and other, investment enabling policies. So they will submit their plans to Antalya, and just like the growth strategies of the Brisbane, these will be monitored in the upcoming years, and they will complement the growth strategies in terms of attaining this 2% additional growth target.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ussal, for talking.
It's my pleasure.
Ussal Sahbaz, thank you for watching.